You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
Achieve the dangerous freedom you dream of in your lifetime. You're listening to On the Run with Remzo W. Martinez.
Gary Collins, you like to keep things simple for yourself, but you like to go ahead and help others keep it simple as well. We'll go ahead and jump into today's topic real fast, but I want to go ahead and ask you, when it comes to picking your next course topic, and we've talked about, some of the online courses that you've had in the past that you can go ahead and find on your website, folks. You can go ahead and check out Gary's website in the show notes today. So that way you can see what he's got going on over there to help yourself today and tomorrow, because the knowledge is forever. The knowledge is always useful. When you usually have an idea for a course, is it usually just something where it's like, hey, I think somebody might want this, or I think this might help somebody? Or do you see an immediate need? Do you see, okay, people have this problem, people aren't finding the solutions. Now I want to go ahead and provide them the immediate solution they need. Where does the motivation start?
That's a really good question. But after you've written 9 books and been doing this for about a decade, you have more ideas than time is the problem. So I have a board, my little organizational board here, that I write things down on, and I'll write ideas, podcast ideas, course ideas. And it's more, the course ideas are plenty. I kind of have them. They're all in my head. The problem is that the ideas are great, but courses are hard, and people don't understand that. They're really hard to put together. So you have to be really efficient on what you pick. And for me, it's hard too, because of the way I live my life and the way it is just a straight up shit show. Let's be honest, in America today.
That's putting it very, very bluntly.
Well, and I just didn't see it going this way when I started this 10 years ago. I thought people would figure out, as I was figuring out, that, you got to get your act together, and you better get it together, or I don't know, you won't be able to make your car payment. You won't be able to buy food because of what we're in right now. Well, I kind of planned for it, and I helped other people plan for it. So it's more of, it makes it difficult in the sense that I know what they need. The problem is, do they want it? That's where it gets goofy. You're trying to kind of split hairs to figure out, well, what are they going to, what do they need that I can get them interested in? And that's the part that makes it hard. And I wish I could, if I had the magic sauce of human thought process, I'd be a bazillionaire, but I don't. I just put them out there and just kind of get the feedback. And from the books and emails, and I've done, so many podcast episodes of my own podcasts and interviews, I have a general idea what people are looking for. But as a business sense, anyone who thinks they have humans figured out is lying to you. You never know until you put it out there, to be honest with you.
As far as the topics that you've gone into a lot of detail on in your Simple Life series, in your courses about off-the-grid living and everything else, when I saw that you wanted to do a course on organizing your life, decluttering your life, actually literally, getting rid of shit so that way you have the physical space to clear your mental space to actually start focusing on things, I thought that was kind of basic. I'm like, why is he focusing on these really... And let's call them what they are. They're challenging things. Why is this the one that you're covering? And when you let me look at the course, I'm like, wow, this isn't just targeting how to organize stuff, how to put things away and learn what shit you're throwing away and what stuff you're going to Goodwill. It really comes down to why do we create problems for ourselves? Why are we doing things actively that are making us unhappy, that are making us unhealthy? And as simple as the course may seem, which is how to physically declutter space, how to organize things so that way it's more conducive to your working and living environment, you touch on a lot of areas that I think are the groundwork for not just your Simple Life philosophy, but for everything else. Because unless you have control over where you live, where you work, where you commute, I mean, people's cars are gross alone. Just in my apartment complex, you just look through the windshields, people look like they've got like a homeless encampment in there. If you don't have the basics down, you can't start thinking about all these things like RV living. How do you expect to live in an RV when it looks like the meth lab from Breaking Bad? It's stuff like that. So what was really the impetus behind this specific course that you just released?
Well, and it spawned off my Decluttering Your Life book, which most people, when they think of decluttering, they think of what's happened is we're a placating society. We don't want to face problems head on. We don't want to face the obvious because it's hard. It's that introspection of, oh, I'm the problem. I need to fix that. People go, oh, no. You're the problem. This is the problem. And that's what makes what I do a little so difficult. Most decluttering books and the shows and all that, it's about putting fancy stickers on your 55 pairs of shoes. It's about getting little plastic crates for, your purses, and your 5 golf clubs need to set in a row. It's like, no, that's not it. The problem is you have too much shit. Let's start there instead of organizing the too much crap you already have that's causing all the problems. And so that's where Organizing Your Life came from, is over the years working with people and being around a lot of people. And today, especially, people are completely and utterly disorganized. And it causes all this angst and anxiety because they can't get through the day because they don't know where their car keys are. Their house is a mess. Their sinks are full of dishes, and their cars look like a bomb went off inside them. And instead of going, the only thing you can never buy is time. Well, by you being disorganized and not having everything in a sensible place, and I differentiate it, there's a big difference between the anal retentive asshole who wants their cup in a certain place with the holes of the handle facing right at, a specific at 91.3 degrees. And if you move it, they just lose their shit. That's the opposite side. You don't want that. Things have a place. They have an organizational process. And I talk about it. Anything you want to get done in life, you need a plan. You need to organize the plan, and then you need to execute the plan. If you follow that mantra throughout your entire life, you will get more things done than you ever thought you could do. It's very simple, but it's a hard process because most people won't do it. They'd rather skip to the execution of a shitty plan and they get a shitty result, and then they throw a fit and it's not their fault. Well, you can't do that. It's your fault. Organize things, put them in a place, organize your day, have a basic routine. And that's what I mean. I've been around people, I'm sure you have too, Rams, the people that cannot, if you throw them off their schedule for the day, they lose their mind. The world is ending because they're so strict in their routine that if they break it, they don't know how to adapt. So you have to have a routine, but be adaptable at the same time. Well, the way you do that is by organizing, have things organized. Car keys. You saw that, like the basic things I threw in there, pictures of what I do. I do this crazy thing. I show you the examples of what I do because I do this stuff. I just don't tell you to do it. I actually do it. That's how I come up with it. So car keys. I have been around friends. We have spent an hour digging through their house trying to find their damn car keys. I've done it. Car keys on a hanger right at the door. You walk in, you put it on the hanger by the door. You leave, they're right there on the door. It literally obliterates that whole problem. Just a hook by the door. That's all you need. Most people don't do it. I showed my office. People were like, whoa, dude, did you clean that? I go, I didn't touch it. That is my office at all times. I go, everything's in a order place because I don't want to go searching for things. The more time I have to search for things and waste time, the less I have to live life. And you got to look at it that way. You add up all these micro disorganizations and trying to find shit and trying to recombobulate a process that you screwed up because you didn't organize it. You literally will waste years of your life through faulty processes of you being disorganized. That's why I called it organizing your life. It's getting everything in order so each day you have a plan and it saves you time. And then once you get done with it, guess what? You get to do the stuff you want to do instead of searching for your car keys and you miss your tee off time because you couldn't find your freaking car keys. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I used to get really frustrated, and I always consider myself a pretty organized person, but barracks life when I was in the Army, the barracks is where you see the best and worst of humanity. And I always got really frustrated because, you know, you have, they used to have, especially at like basic, they had this giant chart of where everything goes in your foot locker and where everything goes in your wall locker. And it had to look exactly like that. And I used to think they're doing this because they know we're going to fail and because they want to punish us. It wasn't until later, like much later, I realized they're not doing this because this is some type of test. It is a test, but they're doing this because when we have to go ahead and head out to execute training at a certain time, they don't want us to come back and lose things and wonder things. They are time maximalist, and you need to have that everywhere you go, especially as a soldier. And that's something that got really ingrained in me really fast, because if we're organized where we sleep, we're going to be organized everywhere else. We're building that routine. And the building of routines is something that I saw in your course that I haven't seen elsewhere. I'm a big fan of the For Dummies series. I collect books on everything, like coding for dummies, marketing for dummies. I had a bachelor's life for dummies thing when I moved and I finally had my own place. And it's like, I want to see what I can learn from morons who lived before me. But you know, with this course specifically on organizing, not only are you trying to build the routine in people, you're also not a minimalist. And that's the thing. There's a differentiation between being a minimalist, which is what I feel like these organization decluttering influencers have kind of morphed into. It's if you can't immediately respond to why you need something, throw it away. While you're definitely saying, listen, some stuff has to go. Some stuff you have to trash it. Some stuff donate, sell it, do whatever. You're not saying just get rid of everything and have like one fork and one bowl and one pair of slippers or something like that. You're really trying to get the person, you know, the reader, the student in this case, to understand like, what is the relationship between you and your stuff? Are you a slave to your stuff, or is your stuff serving a purpose, whether it's a functional purpose or even just a happiness purpose? Your section about about photos, photo albums and stuff like that, books, stuff like that. You're not saying, listen, go ahead and get a flash drive and digitize everything and sort there. It's like, no, it's like, understand like why you want these things. And then you have to find an intentional place to put them, not just leave them out. It's understanding that relationship between you and the things around you, which not a lot of courses, not a lot of YouTube videos or anything like that. They very rarely look at the intentional relationship between you and your things.
Well, and we're a very technological society today. And that's why I had to talk about the photos, because I saw a stat that the average young person has 10,000 plus photos on their phone. And I go, why would you? I don't understand the point.
Gary, I have a lot of memes on my phone. I'm just going to be straight with you.
Memes are different. Those are good. No, but you know what I mean? Photos of yourself, selfies, and all these pictures. And I tell people, you need to, and I've seen it. How many times have you gone to, you're on vacation, or concerts are famous for this now. People literally watch the concert through their phone the entire time because they're recording it. I'm going, you're missing the point. Why are you even at the concert? I mean, just buy the DVD and call it a day, because you're not enjoying the experience. And I tell people that the experience is the memory. The memory is what you're going after. You don't need all these photos of random events that mean really nothing at the time. The things that are important will stick in your memory. That's the key, right? And the rest of life is about moving on, moving forward, going and finding that next experience. And people get so trapped into the me society. I need to take a picture of everything. I need to video this. I mean, how many videos do you see of people videoing someone getting the living crap beat out of them by a homeless person or something, and they're just filming it? And I'm like, what is wrong? What is wrong with you? First of all, I don't want that on my phone. Second of all, my phone would be in my pocket and I would have that guy in a chokehold, blacking him out. In society, we've got to get our perspective. What is important? And that's why I was trying to, with the organizing your life, that was a big piece of it, is figuring out what is important in your life that you need to focus on, and then just ignore all the rest. Stuff is a part of it, and we get attached to our stuff. It's very George Carlin. But that's where I probably learned it from back in the day, because he has an outstanding skit on stuff. Well, shit, I think he calls it, it's a famous skit. And you have to figure out, what do you need? Like, the famous book, I forget her name now. I don't even pay attention. The big decluttering lady, Asian lady that popped up.
Sparks Joy lady.
Yes.
Marie Kondo. Yeah. Does it spark joy or not?
Yeah. And I just was all, what? I got the book because a girlfriend gave it to me and said, you need to read this. I think you'll find it. You're into this stuff. And I read it and I go, this is the stupidest book I've ever read. I go, my drill doesn't give me joy. My drill drills holes. I need the drill. That's what the drill's for. If you just sit around and go, well, it gives me joy, it's an excuse to keep it. Because if you give a human excuse on an item, they'll go, oh, no, that brings me joy. Oh, yeah, I need that. Do you really? And what I
didn't like about Marie Kondo is that she, and I do some of the Marie Kondo stuff. Like I will straight up ask myself, like, does this spark joy? That's why I got rid of so many pairs of socks last month. But the one thing about her that is my criticism, and you see this on like HGTV, you see this in the show Hoarders. And there was a documentary on Netflix too called Minimalist. It's this idea that less is more, that less is best. And it's like, less isn't always best. It's like what you mentioned about your drill. The drill doesn't spark joy. I have a lot of stuff in my apartment that does not spark joy, but it's stuff I need. And should I maybe find different ways, different areas to put it? Maybe it has outlived its purpose. I'm hanging on for it for a rainy day. Maybe, but I don't believe the less is best philosophy is the only way to living in a clean and organized environment. And that's why I don't like about a lot of them.
Yeah. And it's processes. And what happens with this organization in your life is it becomes habits, good habits. And I talk about this too. Habits go both ways. Bad habits are bad, and we have a lot of them. So you want to replace the bad habits with the good habits. And by having an organizational plan of how you go about your day, how you do things, how you accomplish tasks, not getting, sidetracked on all this noise, right? Not watching, 5 hours of news every day and listening to talk radio. That you don't do that. You need probably 15 minutes and your day's good. You got all the information you need, move on. And while I work, like on stuff, I only thing I put on is music. That's it. I go, there's no other distractions. I don't have a TV on in the background. When I'm working. I don't even do podcasts while I work because podcasts distract me because you have to pay attention to them. I don't listen to dumb ones. I try not to, so I'm trying to learn. So my podcast, I listen to while I work out because I'm already focused on working out, which is I can think and work out at the same time. I can ride my bike and listen to a podcast and tune out and do those two things at one time. But also it's muscle memory, right? We learned that in law enforcement. They don't really teach it in the military as much, but in certain things they do, like defensive tactics and shooting. Muscle memory. It's doing a task over and over and over again until it's dialed into muscle memory. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. Well, that's good habits. Good habits get wired in by doing them over and over and over again until you don't think about them anymore. Because I'm a big health guy. People always go, oh my God, how do you think about what to eat every day? How do you think about what? I don't. I've been doing this. It's dialed in. I go to the gym. I figure out what I'm going to do as I'm warming up. It's not that complicated, people. I don't need 15 apps. I don't need 15 personal trainers on YouTube telling me what to do. I know how to do this. It's pretty basic. So getting into positive habits and doing them over and over and over again. It's really simple, but I don't know what it is today. We seem to like to live in a convoluted life of just noise. It's just overabundance of everything. You have to strip out that stuff, right? You have to strip out the things that just aren't important and factor in, what can you use? There's things that bring you joy, sure. Like guys, I play golf, but I have had the same set of golf clubs for 20 years and people go, those things are dinosaurs. I go, they hit the same way they did before. They go, you don't want to add 15 yards to your, I don't care. I go, I'm not on the PGA Tour. I'm out here to drink some beers, drive the golf cart around and play some golf. That's what I'm here for. And it's things like that, right? Replacing right now, here's a really good example of bad decisions. It's a little unrelated, but organizing your life, but this will fit in if you follow me. Cars. Right now, People, they're not putting this out in the news, but repossessions are on fire right now. And I predicted this. I said, you watch. I watched during all these stimulus checks. I was out and about and I saw people dumping out, in their sweats and their slippers out of a $70,000 brand new truck. And I'm all, what am I missing here? I can't buy that truck. And what it was is people were going out and instead of looking at what they needed, what they could afford, they went out and bought the shiny object, the real expensive car. The average car payment is like $750 a month now for newer vehicles. And I'm all, how do you even, this is not going to work. And sure enough, as I predicted, now these people can't afford these cars because they didn't buy what they needed. They bought what they wanted. And part of the routine of what do they need the car for? To get to point A to point B and more than likely get to work. Right? There's that, and we do this all the time. We focus on the things that may be an avenue to get something done, but is it really the one we need? Do I need the $3,000 set of golf clubs when I'm an advanced hacker? No. The $599 golf clubs will do just fine. I think I paid $399 for my golf clubs 20 years ago, my irons. I still play with them. They're great. They're Callaway's.
I am honestly, I am actually looking at getting into golf because I have some clients who like golfing and they like doing business meetings on golf. So I'm going to go to Goodwill and get a thing of golf clubs. But, like what you were saying about the cars, I have a really good friend who lives in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, is a federal contractor and is about to get married. He wanted to go ahead and purchase a house, which was just not like he makes okay money, like good money for that area. But like he wanted to buy a home for the sake of buying a home, because in the town that we grew up in, that's what you do. You get a full-time job, you make a lot of money really fast, and then you buy a home. But with everything going on, it's like he started to really factor in the cost of everything. And very quickly, he realized that he would be living paycheck to paycheck just to afford the mortgage on this home. And he was stressing about it. And he even was like, I've never been more stressed in my life. And I looked at him, I'm like, this is entirely self-induced. You know what this is going to do. No one is forcing you into this home, but you have convinced yourself that you need this. And even though you're identifying that the stress of obtaining this home is causing all this other stress and anxiety, you're still going forward with it. So long story short, he backed out, took a breath of fresh air, and now he's looking at a nice luxury apartment that he can afford. And he will still have more money at the end of the month than month at the end of the money. But, it's like with cars. I mean, the number of people I see twice as old as me who are going house poor, because what they do is they go ahead and they get a raise and they immediately suffer from lifestyle inflation. And they get these homes of 4 or 5 extra bedrooms, and then they fill them up with stuff. And then they lose a job, and then they're waiting for stimulus checks and GoFundMe campaigns. It still bothers me that while I can go on the news right now and hear how the government is screwing people with inflation and rampant spending and taxing and everything, at the end of the day, I believe that for your average middle-class American, their number one enemy is their own habits, especially when it comes to their finances and how they choose to live.
Well, and we've talked about this before, the three-legged stool, the simple life that I created, optimal health, financial freedom by being debt-free, finding your life purpose. And I've heard this numerous times. I've been doing this a long time, and I always get that's oversimplification. That's super easy. I go, well, how many of them are you doing? Do you have them? Which one do you have dialed in? Tell me. None. They never have one. Everyone I ever talk to, they go, oh, well, I can't do that. And you sit there and you go, you see this self-defeatist attitude. I just gave you the basic, simple template on success, and you poo-pooed it. And you said, well, I can't do that. You first told me it was too easy. Then you go, oh no, it's too hard. And it's like, that's the problem, is everything in life that is going to better your life is hard. And so, by simplifying it into the elements of what is important, and the habits one is huge, right? And that's where even the housing, right? That's a bad financial habit, because we've been taught that the American dream is to buy the biggest house you can possibly afford, stress out about it, and fill it full of crap. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. I've done it. I did it. I remember at the end when I finally just said, this is bullshit, changed my entire life, went back to the basics of how I grew up. I grew up dirt poor and said, I'm going back to the things that made me happy. Now, enough of this. I didn't create this reality, this financial system, and this American dream. I didn't get any input on this. I was told this is what it is, and I'm calling bullshit. I'm going to do it my way, as long as I'm not hurting anyone. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it this way, and I'll live with the results. That's where all this came from. And what I found is by going back to the basics and kind of stripping everything down, that's where the pudding's at. That's where life is at. And so you have to get out of that mindset. I bet once he did that, and the huge relief of what are you going to do with that house? And people, I always ask, I go, do you plan to stay in your house 24/7? The goal of life is to be outside of that house, is to get out of it. So it doesn't need, you don't need a mansion. That's for rich people who have more money than sense. I just need something that functions, basic, and is nice and organized, not filled with.
I also don't think that going broke is a flex. And it's just like, you have this and you can tell people about your house and everything, but it's like, the things that we acquire should add value to our life.
Yes.
And they shouldn't make our life worse. And that was the thing I kept trying to get across to him, which was how is this really improving your life? Because what's going to happen is all your money after utilities, expenses, gas, everything else, all your reoccurring subscriptions and everything. And not to mention, you want to go ahead and have your fiance move in with you now. And, it's not going to be a equal financial relationship. So at the end of the month, you're going to be lucky if you're at zero and you don't owe anything. You don't have any outstanding balances. You don't have any bills or anything like that. Like you're just happy to end with zero and you're not in the red immediately. And it was, he's a victim of what goes through all of us, which is that impulsive sense of I can do it, I can try, I can get to that achievement. Everyone suffers from that. But it's like what you mentioned. That's what we're taught to do. We look down on renters in this country. I can tell you up front, I never intend on buying a home at least for another 10 years. There's more benefits to me being a renter right now, and that's a whole other discussion, than me, a 20-something-year-old guy, buying a home, especially in this market when interest rates are so freaking ridiculous. And we're hitting, what was it, not 9.1 monthly inflation or whatever stupid number it is. It's ridiculous. But I mean, that's what you regularly hit on, which is we have to go ahead and understand what's our relationship between ourselves and the things we have, and how can we build the better routines in order to develop that result that we want. There's a survey you cite in the homepage of the course. I'll go ahead and link to that, folks, so that way you can go ahead and find it in the show notes. There's a survey that you reference. And what I hate about this discussion when we start talking about decluttering, I mean, let's just bring it back to just your home is a mess. You're disorganized. You're having to find out where you left your keys because you didn't put them on the hanger. When we look on TV, when we look online, we always see the worst scenario, the hoarder, the poor person or the widower or the retiree who's always filling the same stereotype. There's a survey you mentioned on that page where it basically surveyed American adults, and it showed that like 75% of them or more were stressed out because they feel disorganized and cluttered. That's everybody. That's working class. That's middle class. That's very well-off people. This is not you can spot the stereotype type of thing. This is a nationwide problem with people.
Yeah. Well, and I always try and bring it back to the basics of what a human is. Where did we come from? What were our patterns before? And humans are simplistic creatures, and we seem to forget that we are actually just part of the animal kingdom. We were integrated with it, and we were harmonized with it. And what's happened is we've removed ourselves from that and created this kind of how would I put it, overcomplicated system of how we live, which our brains are not wired for. Humans are very simplistic in the sense that most of our time was spent surviving. What did that mean? food, shelter, community. That's how we survived. It was that basic. That's what we focused on. Why do you think we're now learning that, the building of the pyramids and, all the astronomy that our ancient ancestors knew? Because they had a ton of free time to do aliens. We've gotten into that before. Yeah. But they had all this time to think about it. They didn't have TV. They didn't have street lights. They didn't have computers. Well, what they did at night is stare up at the sky. They looked at the heavens. That's what they looked at. And so you understand where humans were. It was a simple process of life. And what we've done is we've jammed in all this crap where our mind can't take it. We always hear multitasking, like most of these self-help books and habits books tell you need to master multitasking. No, you don't. It's study after study is showing multitasking basically overloads your brain. Humans were wired to focus on one task, complete it, move on to the next. That's how we're dialed in. And if you think of it that way, that's organization. Organization of your day should be, what is my most important task as soon as I wake up that I need to complete? Let me do that one. Do the hard one first. Some people got to stagger up. They got to do the little easy ones to kind of gain some momentum. That's fine. But the big one's there. You got to get the big one done. I talk about Post-it notes. I've been using Post-it notes for decades. Matter of fact, I have a customer and follower of mine who used to work for 3M, and he sends me dispensers and Post-it notes, and he's great. I love the stuff he sends me.
It's a good person to know.
No, phenomenal, right? And I still use them. They're right here. They're on my desk. I have them every day. I have a rule. What I did in the government is I would write down at the end of the day all the things I needed to get done the next day on a Post-it note. Boom, stick it on the computer. So when I walked in the next day, because we get busy, we just forget things. And then the next day you got to try and figure out, well, what was I supposed to do? I can't remember. Well, it's right there on your Post-it note. First thing you need to do, right? That's what I'm talking about. So you don't spend 15 minutes spun up, all stressed out because you can't remember what you were supposed to do from the day before. Write it down. That's another thing. Goals. Your goals and these habits you're working on, you need to write them down and put them on your refrigerator. You're going to go to that refrigerator at least 3 times a day, more than likely, probably 10 times a day. Hopefully not too much. You should be getting water, not ho-hos. But it's right there. It's kind of a shaming technique is what I call it. If you have to stare at it every single day and go, ooh, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then friends come over. This is the best when they go, oh, that's cool. That's a neat list. You're not doing any of those, Remzo. I watch you. You know what I mean? It kind of puts pressure on you.
It's real.
Shaming. And that's the thing, like fat shaming. People just get all bent out of shape. I go, if I'm getting fat, I want someone to tell me, hey, Gary, you're putting on the LBs. I go, oh, shit, I need to lose some weight.
You want to get real like deep and like, real meta for a minute. In my bathroom, I have a Memento Mori prayer taped to my mirror. So every time I'm brushing my teeth, it starts with, remember you will die.
Yeah.
And I look at that every time I go take a shit, wash my hands, brush my teeth, do whatever. I always see that there. And it goes for little reminders, but I do it for even big reminders like that. I still have a good day, even though I start the day remembering that. But no, I totally get it. Without my list, and I'm the same way. I've got legal pads. The first thing I did recently when I got back from the honeymoon and everything was I ordered a whole giant stack of legal pads, because if I don't physically write it down, if I don't keep it with all my stuff, I don't have it around me, I quickly forget about it. I've got the brain of a squirrel sometimes.
Well, part of it is because we have too many things going on. We filled our time with a bunch of mental clutter. The more mental clutter you have, the harder it is to remember things and the harder it is to accomplish a task and focus on a thing at hand. So that's what I mean by simplifying. You have to focus down on those important things. What are the things that are important? What are the things that are going to affect your life? And that thing, at least, hey, it wasn't written in lipstick, you will die. Then you got to worry. But
then we're dealing with red rum.
Yeah. But that's one thing we can guarantee in life, right? There's one guarantee: you will die. So you better figure out what you're going to do with that time in between. And you better make it the best time you possibly can. And it sounds rah, 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 but it is. I look at every day I'm alive as, what can I do today? What am I going to do? And there's days too when I go, you know what? I'm not doing shit. I'm burned out. I'm tired. I think I'm going to take a nap. You know why I can do that? Because I organize my life and I don't have debt and I have optimal health. and I found my life purpose. You know what I mean? So that's why I try and tie all these things together. And with that organizing your life, there's another course that will be coming after it. And then I have a big decluttering your life course coming at the end. It'll be the big course. But what I've also learned, and that's how these courses are done. We'll get back to when you first asked me. I do them in a way too, because it's chunks. I've learned being a teacher, professor. I've taught in the military. I've been a teacher in law enforcement. I've been a college professor. I've learned to teach people kind of how people learn. I've learned it myself, and I've used it with other people. It's chunks. You learn better with smaller chunks. So I like to give you, smaller chunk courses and break the courses down into smaller chunks. And you have to look at life that way and organization. It needs to be in small pieces, but the small pieces add up to a big change. If you try to do the big change and do that, most people fail. It's overwhelming. You become overwhelmed too quickly. Focus on small things, Post-it notes, super simple. But it will drastically change your organization. And that's, the car keys. You will save literally days of your life not searching for car keys with a simple 99-cent hook. And that's, we overthink it, right? So what do we think when we want to organize our life or change your life? Well, I've got to get the big expensive course from the guru who's never done any of it because they're full of shit. I've got to get on YouTube and go down 15 bazillion rabbit holes. I've got to buy 25 books on organization. And you're just cluttering up your process to unclutter or declutter and organize. You've just made the problem worse by cluttering and disorganizing the process you need to do to organize. Simplify. Keep it simple. Do not overthink it. We do it all the time. We go to an extreme instead of what is the first step. I always tell people, what is the first step you need to do? What will you do right now to get you going and will start instant change? I bet you it doesn't cost any money. And I bet it doesn't even cause you to get on the internet. And they go, what? Oh, really? Think about it. What is your main problem? Well, God, Starbucks, the line is it is ridiculous. And I get accosted by a homeless person every other day. How about you make your coffee at home? And they look at me and they go, what? Make my own fucking coffee?
It's like you just slapped their mother.
Yeah, I might as well have just, insulted them with the worst insult known to humankind. And I go, you do realize that you can make an organic, freshly brewed cup of coffee, because I do it every morning, for like 10 cents. And I don't have to get in my car. I have to burn gas. I don't have to try and draw down on a bum and maybe get in a shootout and go to prison. I can just make my cup of coffee, get in my car, and go to work or sit in front of my computer and start working. Cheaper, less stress. Well, then you look at it and I go, well, how do you organize? My coffee's organized. This could sound totally anal retentive, but it's not. So my espresso machine's in a certain place. That's the meme.
My coffee is organized.
My coffee's organized, but it's in a place to where every morning I use a tea kettle to heat up the water. So I fill up the tea kettle the night before, put it on the stovetop. So I wake up, open the doors, the dogs go out. I go over, the second thing I do is turn on the water to boil. So I'm doing other things. I'm not multitasking because I don't have to put any effort into that now. That's on its own. And then I have my coffee right next to the grinder. The grinder's right next to my pour over. It's all right there. I don't have to worry and go searching through the cabinets and try and find this, try and find that. It's a process, and it sounds overly anal, but it's a process that speeds up my day. It saves me a ton of time. I don't have to go anywhere. I do other things as the coffee. I do my pour over. I walk over. I'll go open my email up. Once it drains down, I go back, pour. You see these processes, and these are the things that people don't understand. Is most people, what they'll do is they'll stand in front of the pour over, kettle back down, stare at it. Kettle back, stare at it. And that's what I'm talking about. Action items. What can you do as you're doing that? Do you watch Forged in Fire?
Yeah. Yeah. On Netflix. Yeah. I've seen that.
No. Forged in Fire is on history. They make knives.
Yeah. They're the blacksmiths that make weapons. Yeah. It's also on Netflix. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm addicted to it. I love making things. So
I need to learn how to make my own weapons for when the whole grid goes down. That's just that's my big lesson from that.
Well, and that's saying, if you want to watch a show of what organization means, the guys who always win are gals. There's some gals who are badass. they're organized. If you watch their process, they're never sitting. Yeah, they have a system. They're never watching. They're never standing. They're constantly going through. So they're sketching their knife as they're heating up the metal in the forge. They're sketching it out. Then it heats up. They start to pound it out. They put it back in the forge. They start thinking about their handle. That's what I mean. It's these processes. They save so much time and effort in life. And that's what you have to figure out. What are the keys? What do you want out of life, right? What is the end goal? Well, mine is to enjoy it. And I'm not talking hedonistic, it's all about me. I'm talking about what are the things that I enjoy? How can I spend this time the best I can and have, again, it goes back to time. How can I optimize my free time to have the most of it, to do the things that I want to do? It's be organized. It's have your shit together. That's the easiest way. You want to go through life completely discombobulated, probably fall over in the parking lot of a heart attack at 45, be completely disorganized. Just go through life by the seat of your pants, never organize anything, never work on anything, never develop good habits. That's the end result you're going to end up with. I don't want to be that. I've been around that. It's in my family. It's in everyone's family. I don't want to be that person. I want to, when I take that last breath, I want to look back and go, hey, it was a good ride. I did all I could. You hope it doesn't happen unexpectedly. But if you're organized, the odds are you will live longer in general, right? If you're not walking on the crosswalk or hit the crosswalk and you're thinking about where your keys are, what you were supposed to do that day because you can't remember and the bus hit you, well, the organization probably would have saved you. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean is you get sidetracked in life and you start to make bad decisions and you start to put yourself at risk of doing, going through the red light. That's another thing. Overthinking. People who miss the red light, it's because they're thinking of something that they should have done or didn't do. And that's what I mean. It sounds weird, but I always think that way. I think, how is the best way to minimize dying unexpectedly? The good part about life is you need to be alive to enjoy it. Well, if I'm not thinking that through and thinking how to maximize that, well, the odds are I'll end up dead. And I don't want to end up dead. I want to live as long as I possibly can without pooping my diaper and, live the life I want. And that's why, it sounds weird the way I do things, but the way I teach things is very different than most people today.
Gary, we've covered a lot, but here's probably one of the more important things. Who is this course for? Because there's some people listening to this who are immediately like, shit, I've been thinking about a dozen of these things. I know that if I go ahead and jump into this, I'll probably get the answer I want. But then you've got some other people who are probably thinking, I think I'm mostly okay. Like previewing your course, I am a very anal OCD person. And I try and be the master of my space. But there were even things in there that I was like, shit, I don't consider it this way. Little things that I've been able to fine tune since then where I'm like, shit, I'm happier now since I have implemented X into my life. What about those people who are thinking, I'm on the fence, maybe I should give it a try, but I don't know if this is for me?
Well, first of all, I'm not a greedy individual. So I always make these things affordable is my goal in life. That
sparks joy.
I tell people, I go, you know what, it's weird because the way I live my life is part of it too, is I don't need as many resources as the average American needs because I don't live that lifestyle and I don't live without, me. I live a good lifestyle. I'm not wanting for anything.
Folks, you don't know this, but he's broadcasting from hookers in Cocaine Island.
Oh yeah. Hey, me and Hunter Biden, both. But that's the thing is I've developed these systems and lived the life I want that is well within my means. So I don't need to try and rip you off or play games with you. My attitude is I'll charge you a fair price. It's $19.95, period. If you can't get something out of this for $19.95, I haven't done my job. That's on me. That's how I look at it. So that's part of it, right? Is if you're on the fence, it's cheap. And if you can't change your life for $19.95 and you think I ripped you off, I'll give you your money back. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I tell people that all the time. I tell people, if you didn't buy a book from me, but you hated my book and you bought it from the 50-cent store, show me your 50-cent thing and I'll send you 50 cents via PayPal. I don't care. And that's part of it. Make it affordable. But also, it's for people who are going, this isn't working. We've all been there, right? In life, going, I'm doing everything they're telling me, and this just isn't working. I'm not happy. I feel like I'm chasing my tail all the time. It's for you, but it's for people who are proactive. If you want the easy button and you just want me to give you a list of the things you need to do, and then you hold your hand along the way, not for you. It's not going to work. It's for the people who are ready for change, who want to get more out of life and simple things, right? I had to look back because as I was going through it and writing, I went, what are things I do just to give them a quick example? And that's why I just went down with my phone. I took a quick picture and said, I'm going to take a picture of this as it is right now. I'm not touching it. And that's what I did. I took a picture of the hook by the door. I took a picture of my guitar picks and the area where I play guitar on my amp, show how it's organized so I don't have to dig around. I just want to play my guitar. I don't have to go searching the house for a friggin' pick. They're right there. And then my desk showing how it's organized, how it's set up for efficiency. Everything's in its place. And so if you're ready for that, just simple things. Those are some of the simpler things. There's harder things in there, but it's about that. It's about going back to the things that you can do easily. And am I wrong? Did you have to go sign up for anything where I data mine you, or I'm going to contact you 15 times a day via text, or you have to buy another course, or you have to do? No.
It is all there. And folks, I'm telling you, it's all there. You won't need to go elsewhere. And what's better is that he's not telling you, okay, now if you want to know the real like occult secrets behind how to organize your shit, sign up for this monthly $9.99 a month thing. It's like, it's just there because it's the building block of so many things. And that's why I valued about your books. That's why I value about your courses and everything else you do. You can take things in bite-sized chunks to solve an immediate problem. And if you happen to, encounter another obstacle, you're in a different place in your life or something else comes up, there's always something additional that you can go ahead and say, okay, now it's this turn for this thing. And that's what this course does. If you need it for now, it's great, but it's the building block of everything else. It's the building block of your three-legged stool that you've been able to base a simple life around. And, you're going to get something out of it. If me, somebody who doesn't like seeing a single crumb on the floor, and I always have my keys basket with my wallet, my sunglasses, and everything else. If even I could get something from it, I'm telling you, you're not going to get nothing out of this course. And that's a great thing about it.
Well, and I also give you 2 coupons that will pay for the course on their own. So if you want to go in there, and I did it to where you get a big discount if you want one-on-one time. If you don't think that was enough and you have some extra questions, I do consulting. I've been doing it forever. And that way, if you want to ask me some more questions, I give you a big discount. It's like, hey, I know you've put in the effort. I'm not here just to upsell you. If you need it, I'm going to give you a discount on it. Come my way. I'll finish it off. Very rarely do I have to have people. That's another thing. I'm a terrible business person. I try and solve the problem. Instead of stringing you along like a drugged out hooker, I try to solve the problem right away. And that's my attitude. The quicker you solve the problem, the quicker you get to move on with life. And that's the way I'm wired. I'm not here to oversell you or give you something else. And it is, everything I do is a la carte. If you have a problem, I try and break it off to where you can just go solve that problem, get that part figured out, then move on to the next thing if you want to. It's not like I force you to go to the next step. If you don't need the next step, you don't need the next step, move on. But the consulting stuff, I almost always, anyone who comes in, again, terrible business person, I usually get it all done in one consulting session and they're good. They're like, God, okay, I took all my notes. I got it. I don't know. It makes me happy to do it that way. And I hope people understand that I do this from a place of a good place. It's to give back. I've been very fortunate in life. I was born here by luck. I got to live in the most prosperous country, ever invented. We're going in a little bit of a wrong direction right now, but it's still the best place. For the most part,
it sparks joy.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I send you a whole 500 sheets of organizational stickers. So you can just sticker everything. I'm kidding. I've seen those. I've actually seen those. And half the
It's like,
book.
great, you're just getting rid of clutter by making more clutter, except this time it's shiny and interactive.
I kid you not. I had one decluttering book that I picked up and I opened it. Half of it was stickers. It was like shoes, purses, golf. It had every option, silverware. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I went, holy shit.
That does not spark joy.
It does. It didn't. It made my head hurt. And it was going to solve anything. But I appreciate it, Lorenzo. Lorenzo. Where did I get Lorenzo?
That's the evil version.
Is that your
evil twin in the attic? Yeah, he doesn't even speak English. Fuck that guy. Gary, I'm going to go ahead. And as I told folks, I'm leaving a link to the course in the show notes. Folks, go ahead and check it out. It's it will definitely help you, and you get some more perks out of it, such as a discounted session for a one-on-one call with Gary. Gary, if people want to go ahead and subscribe to your show, check out everything else you do, how could they do so?
Go to the website. I do this crazy thing, build a website. It's all on there, thesimplelifenow.com. My podcast is on there, all my products. And I want to make this clear too. This is a veteran-owned company, me, and all the products have and always will be made in the USA. I've always done that. I practice what I preach, so I appreciate it when people support me because I try to do it the right way.
Do it your way. Gary Collins, thank you so much for joining the program today.
Thank you.
Folks, if you benefited from this conversation with Gary, if you got something out of it, hopefully you got a little bit of value and you want to go ahead and give it a little bit of value back, please, a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show across Al Gore's amazing internet. Costs you nothing but a couple seconds. It means so much to me. You can literally do it the next time you're sitting down taking shit. Flop, there. I got 5 stars. You helped to keep this conversation going and keep it coming for weeks on end. As always, we'll be back later in the week. And remember, so that warranty is be safe, be good. Good night. For those of you listeners who know my background a bit, you might remember the stories of my first few jobs after college. From being a mall cop to selling makeup door to door, I realized that I had skills that were being underutilized and that these minimum wage jobs couldn't support me or last forever. I spent years going through YouTube, reading books, listening to podcasts, and taking enough online courses to reinvent myself as a professional copywriter and digital marketer. Years later, thanks to my side hustles and drive, I've worked with national news outlets, multi-million-dollar tech startups, nonprofits, and celebrities to build their brands and drive sales. None of this could have happened if I didn't develop in-demand skills. I had to do this alone, but you don't have to. You have Hustlers University 2.0. Hustlers University 2.0 is a community where you can learn real skills to earn money online today, starting with side hustles you can use to elevate your game. I'm not just an advocate for Hustlers University, I'm also a student. Every professor is verified to be making $10K to $500K monthly in their selected field. You get full resources, lesson plans, and an active community of thousands of other Hustlers University students working on skills such as stock analysis, cryptocurrencies, e-commerce, copywriting, which was my favorite course, one I actually went ahead and took last month. And as a copywriter of 7 years, I even took a ton out of that, including some of the resources I was able to take over to my day job. You also learn freelancing, financial planning, affiliate marketing, business management, and so much more. If you're tired of depending on a boss who hates you to deliver your paycheck, or have learned since the lockdowns that controlling the source of your income is vital to your individual freedom, sign up for Hustlers University 2.0 today using the link in the show notes. I'll see you there.